Breaking news, President Donald Trump has announced an ambitious plan for the U.S. naval fleet to expand and build a new class of massive warships dubbed the Golden Fleet, which includes nuclear submarines that can take over the Arctic Circle. But you may be thinking, why would they want to do that? That's what we were thinking. Why would they want to take over the Arctic? So in this video, we're going to talk about the impact that this new naval fleet is going to have on Venezuela, Denmark, Greenland, and the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned because this information is starting to build up. And this is just the beginning of something that is going to be way bigger than what we expect and what we have to prepare for. This is wartime in the physical. So stay tuned. Make sure you like the video, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And yeah, let's get to it.
So before we talk about all the nations that this will implicate, because remember, we just had 30 ambassadors being recalled, mostly from Africa, but also from the Middle East and South Asia. But now the naval fleet announcement has come up too. So the new Trump-class battleship are warships spanning from at least 2, but could be up to 25 vessels. This is from Reuters.com. That are going to be larger and more heavily armed than current destroyers intended to project the U.S. dominant sea power. Now, their lead ship is going to be named the USS Defiant. And advanced weapons include those hypersonic missiles, nuclear armed sea launch cruise missiles, laser and rail gun systems. This is framed as a symbol of U.S. maritime strength, dominance, and industrial revitalization. Coming from the White House website itself, this is the branding for this new phase or age of modern warfare. And here's the strategic rationale. Trump frames the initiative as peace through strength. He's like, hey, the world's actually going to be more peaceful as long as we have more power. If we can take over Greenland, the world's going to be a much better place.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening. I'm glad that you summed it up that way, because this is what he's talking about in his speeches and in his emergency talks. Yeah, we're going to bring peace to these nations that's been at war for 20 years and this and that. So yeah, peace comes with the power of America.
That's what they're saying, at least. But you know, due to some current news outlets framing what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, the Ukraine and Russia war could be over and they may strike a peace deal. While Denmark decides, hey, remember just last week, Denmark said the U.S. is an enemy of their state. So it seems like they may not just let Greenland go without a fight. But we also need to look at what this means for Venezuela, people in America, and people that literally live in the Arctic.
Yeah, and you got to think, talking about this peace deal with Trump, basically we're going to leave the link to a video where Putin, the Russian president, was speaking about peace too. So it's basically a power play of who's going to be the country that brings the peace to what's going on around the world. So is it going to be Russia or is it going to be the United States? And it seems like Russia is starting to make sense of a lot of things.
Russia may have some new European allies.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the impact on Russia with this Golden Fleet. From a geopolitical context, this is from Adelayer. Analysts see the fleet as part of a broader U.S. effort to project power amid rising global tensions with major powers, including Russia. America, for one, feels like if their backs are against the wall, it doesn't matter because they have the naval Golden Fleet, the most powerful military in the world, right? And Russia's state media and officials have criticized the buildup, as outmoded and costly, and suggest it won't meaningfully enhance U.S. capabilities against those modern threats. They believe that this is not even going to help the US, okay? And for the Russia-Ukraine war, Trump says that Ukraine talks are going okay and continues to express desires for peace, even while unveiling the Golden Fleet. Experts note that broader US military posture, including the naval strength, is being watched closely in the context of Russia's war on Ukraine and NATO's deterrence in Europe. The Nordic and Baltic states want robust support.
Yeah, so
And that's from the New Lines magazine.
yeah, you got to think Trump is trying to bring that peace to Ukraine and Russia. And I know recently Ukraine just, sent missiles to Russia and Moscow and bombs and stuff like that. But I think breaking news, as we're talking right now, as we're recording this video, literally before we press record on this video, Ukraine is starting to have talks to bring their troops away from Russia, right? And if you've been paying attention to what Donald Trump been saying and what the Russian President Putin been saying, Donald Trump, he's basically saying we need to chill out on our spending. We spend billions of dollars, 350 billion, I believe, total, with Ukraine, weapons and resources and stuff. So he's like, hey, let's chill out on this. This is we're putting fuel to the fire, so Ukraine will feel like they have that step to keep stepping into Russia, right? So as Donald Trump is saying, we need to calm down on giving them the weapons and the resources, right? The Ukrainian president is like, okay, since Donald Trump is saying this, we might have to just back up and start to listen to Russia.
Now, let's move on to Venezuela. Let's go to South America, because guess what? This has a lot to do with South America. With Trump just announcing this, just like today, breaking news, or within the last 24 hours, remember that the U.S. seized a Venezuelan oil tanker and has taken control of some of their largest oil reserves and saying, hey, this is ours now, without, saying, look, you can keep some of your oil or let's work out a deal. They're just coming in heavy-handed into Venezuela, which is going to lead to destabilization in that whole region. And we're even seeing talks with Venezuela saying to their neighbors, hey, we cannot trade with you. Venezuela feels like they're backed against a wall, and really their only allies here are going to be like a Russia or a China if they decide to step in and say, hey, we're going to help you out.
And they have. Russia and China said, hey, we get oil from them too. This is, look, the U.S., you can't be doing it. This is our oil. So of course Donald Trump is saying, hey, no, it's criminals. This is black market oil, basically. So, it's a lot going on, family. It's like, dang. And
even more. We didn't even get to Greenland yet.
I do want to say this before we get off the topic of oil. Think about the oil in the Bible. I'm not going to try to go too deep into it, but there's literally fights about oil right now. So I just want to say, make sure that your oil is filled up, right? And I'm not even talking about physical now. I'm talking about spiritual. I'm talking about, think about the 5 foolish and the 5 wise versions that came with their oil, right? Make sure you are prepared, because we are in a time of, this is in the physical now where they're fighting over oil. So in the spiritual, just make sure you're filled up and you're overflowing, so you won't have to run back and prepare and then miss out.
Exactly. And look, this goes back to the question that I originally asked, because now we're moving to Greenland and Denmark. And when I first heard President Trump about 7 to 9 months ago, it wasn't quite a year ago, about 7 to 9, maybe 10 months ago, talking about how he wanted control of Greenland, I was like, nobody's in Greenland, right? Like, who even cares about Greenland? So I pulled out a map today and looked at Greenland. I said, oh wow, Greenland actually covers a rather large land mass. Like, this earth is very huge. Just understand that. And listen, Trump recently appointed Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as special envoy to Greenland, explicitly to engage on future paths, including the idea of integrating Greenland into the U.S. sphere. AP News. And then Danish and Greenlandic leaders furiously rejected any notion of U.S. control, stressing sovereignty. Under international law, the Greenland belongs to the Greenlanders. And so maybe the U.S. is like, you know what? Let's stop sending money to Ukraine. It's more beneficial for us. We're not getting anything out of the Ukraine war except Israeli relationships, which at this rate really may not matter because they may not be able to be dual citizens in the coming years. And so instead, President Trump is like, let's grab this oil in Venezuela, let's grab this big land in Greenland, and you're about to find out why. Here are the 5 insane reasons that you would never think of why President Donald Trump wants to control Greenland. And remember, I told you, there's now the Louisiana governor that is the envoy to Greenland stating we need to have this be a part of America. I want you to remember that key detail because this also ties in with the 30 ambassadors being revoked and replaced with people who can do the American first sphere or ideal state of mind. Number 1, the U.S. wants military and Arctic control, which is the real reason. This is the top reason. Greenland sits right in the GI-UK gap. You're like, what the heck is that? That's what I was saying. Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom. This is the choke point between the Arctic and the Atlantic. Get this. Whoever controls Greenland can track Russian submarines. It's a launch and early warning hub for missile defense systems, and the U.S. already operates Thule Air Base as a core part of U.S. nuclear detection systems. This matters because Russia is reopening Arctic bases. China is now calling itself an Arctic power, even though they're not necessarily near the Arctic. Technically, Russia's more near the Arctic. And the Arctic is becoming the new military frontier for the Western and European and Russian and technically Chinese nations. Okay?
Yeah, it's just like we said at the beginning of the video. It's the beginning of this war. Like this is bigger than what they say. They are literally playing chess in this war. So it's not, one move, two. They're thinking 3-4 moves ahead. And that's just what it is.
Whew. Number 2 is going to shock you as well. Here we go. This is bigger than oil. They want rare earth minerals. Greenland holds massive, which I had no idea, untapped rare earth mineral deposits. These minerals power missiles, fighter jets, EVs, AI chips, satellites, and defense technology. Right now, China controls 70% of global rare earth processing. Just let that sink in.
Processing.
They own 70%, a whopping over 2/3, okay? And here's Trump's logic. Why stay dependent on China when the minerals are literally sitting under the Western aligned ice? This is about supply chain control, not necessarily consumer energy. Now, number 3, oil and gas, obviously. Oil's still important, even though they have the Venezuelan oil they just grabbed, and they want to also grab some Arctic oil because, you might need Arctic oil, okay? Because it has offshore oil potential, Arctic gas reserves. But here's the thing. Arctic gas reserves are expensive. You can't extract these things easily. And environmental opposition is very strong. The Greenlandiers are probably not going to be too happy about this. This is coming across as neo-colonial, no matter how much they say it's not colonialism. It's not like the old times. This is literally the old times colonialist playbook, but being penned and directed at Western nations. Oh, wow. Greenland also halted new oil exploration licenses in recent years. So the U.S. is like, you know what? If our licenses expire, if they're pausing them, I think we should just own all of it. Like, I think, we should have the 52 states, right? The 52 states. Greenland can be the 52nd state. And so you can just hop over Ohio to Greenland and that's your neighbor, right? Because it's America. So oil is secondary, not primary. It sweetens the deal, but it's not the deal driver.
Yeah, you got to think about the resources. There's resources everywhere on this earth. We know Africa has a resource, but President Trump starting to realize you can't just come here no more.
Can't control Africa.
So he gotta, like, he said the Western, what was it? The Western
Arctic, the Western Arctic Alliance, basically.
Yeah, so
and better proximity to Russia and China, actually, because from an American standpoint, just geography, why would you move all the way from the northern hemisphere, come to the southern hemisphere, then have to deal with China by crossing the Indian Ocean? That's very, very vast. Versus geographically, just because Earth is a ball, and so literally at the Arctic Circle, you shorten all of your distances. You're able to go from U.S. to Russia, U.S. to China, right over there, U.S. to Russia to Greenland, right in this circle, without wrapping across the globe first to do it. So he came out and he just basically circumvented and said, you know what, Africa's not going to be that important right now. We need to go ahead and get this Arctic Circle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, number 4, future shipping routes. As Arctic ice melts, new shipping lanes are going to open, and travel time between Asia and Europe is going to drop within literal weeks. So if you control Greenland, if you're America, you influence Arctic maritime traffic, secure North Atlantic logistics, and reduce reliance on unstable choke points like the Suez Canal in South America. Trade follows the ice melt, and policy is going to follow trade.
Yeah, it's basically what he's doing in Venezuela. He's like, look, we got sanctions here, so the same thing with Greenland. That's what's going to happen eventually. Yeah.
And I in no way as an American condone this. I'm very much, I live in Africa. If you didn't know, I've been in Africa with my husband and children for 6 years now. So I'm not a big fan of colonialism. I'm not a big fan of America just trying to basically rape the whole world. But that's what they're going to do. That's what American, like, if you don't know what 1776 represented from around the 1619 era and a little bit before, well, you're about to find out. You're about to find out just how loving the American society is towards other people, even if they look like them. And number 5, the whole reason is also to block China. This is going to be quiet but very firm, because China has tried to fund Greenland infrastructure. So America allows China to build in Africa, or doesn't really try to stop them too much with military. But Greenland, they're like, I think we need to get that envoy over there to let the Greenlandiers know that this is going to be U.S. territory in the next year or so. Invest in airports and mining. This is what China tried to do. And establish research footholds. The U.S. and Denmark together have actively blocked this. But Trump's worldview is very blunt. Strategic land should not drift into rival influence by neglect. So this isn't like the typical land grab, but it is influence, security, and positioning. Greenland isn't just about voters and trees up there and snowflakes and all of those things, but it's about the next 50 years of power alignment in the Arctic.
Yeah, look, it's not just about next year. You got to know everything takes time. And when you look at the bigger picture, this is going to take time. This is going to really, if you do not choose today what you're going to start listening to and intaking, because it's a lot of distractions going on right now. But I believe this is going to affect the future real heavy, instead of the Epstein files or whatever. You get what I'm saying? You should already know that. You should already know that it's wicked people in this world that does stuff like that, right? But this is way more important. This is something that you should be getting the information and getting the understanding of where this is headed. Because it's gonna take time, but you got to position yourself.
Especially if you're an expert.
You gotta align yourself. Yeah, you gotta align yourself with the right things. Because we're gonna do another video pretty soon talking about what just happened in West Africa. So
it's big, y'all. It's
yeah.
big. It was a shocker. Within 24 hours of the U.S. government announcing recalling 30 ambassadors, one West African nation said, "We're not gonna say it till the next video." So subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll leave you with this. Greenland is valuable because it sits at the intersection of military defense, rare earth minerals, Arctic trade routes, and great power competition. Oil is only the footnote.
Exactly. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like the video, leave your comments below, and we will talk to you in the next video. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.